Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. We can see that with the 15 working days of September, currently NIO has delivered around 19,000 cars. That averages around 1274 per working day. There's also 7 days left. So if we assume a slight uptake in the delivery numbers, let's say 1500 or so every day, that's around 10,500 remaining for the month of September. Adding to that of the already delivered 19,000, we're getting close to 30,000 deliveries. That is a good number. This is also excluding the exports to other countries. I would say at least a couple of thousand, maybe 2 or 3,000. So currently I'm leaning towards 33,000 deliveries. It's slightly less than what we were hoping for. I would say that the optimistic target was 37,000 for September month, and that way it would be easy to see how they could reach 40,000 in October. But also there's a whole lot happening out there for NIO. We can see that, for example, they say that they have received about 100,000 cancelable orders for ES8 according to Deutsche Bank. We can also see that apparently the ES8 is completely sold out for 2025, and customers that are ordering now are facing like deliveries at around March of 2026. And I think I've read at other place that NIO is currently hoping to deliver around 40,000 ES8s, the updated ES8, over the upcoming end of this year. Additionally, we can also see that the Onvo L60 is updated. It's supposed to be, more energy efficient, better comfort, and I think this is a good update for almost a year after the launch of Onvo sub-brand. And looking at the weekly delivery numbers for the past few weeks, we can see that Onvo, peaked at around, I would say, let's say 6 to 7 weeks ago, around week 32, beginning of August, wherein they had deliveries of around, anywhere between 3,200 to, at best scenario, also 4,100 cars. Now, the rumors online is that the L90 is still doing great, maybe 2,000, 2,200 deliveries every single week. But the L60 is a little bit, finding a bit difficulty over the past couple of weeks, and probably due to the, people are waiting, customers are waiting for the updated refreshed model, which was launched recently around a week or so ago. So I would expect to see, the L60 deliveries to start ramp up again. So probably we will see Onvo numbers also, ramping up a little bit. So most likely we're gonna see around 3,000, 3,500 Onvo deliveries every single week in short time. In addition to that, I'm still very happy about the Firefly numbers, delivering a lot, 1,300 cars. I mean, we're not far off. I mean, sure, it sounds like a lot, but I would say we're not far off a couple of thousand Firefly deliveries every single week. That's already there, 100,000 deliveries on the third sub-brand, the cheap sub-brand. Of course, Firefly, that's not a big margin car, but still, 100,000 deliveries so quickly into the lifetime, at least in terms of run rate, it's really, really good. And again, if you've been following me, you know that over the past 18 months, I've been much more critical towards NIO, especially the management. But now that they finally raised that, additional 1 billion or so in cash, we know that the dilution has been happening. They are finally having enough capital on their hands, in my opinion, in order to actually become a profitable company. And this time, I actually believe they will become most likely a profitable company without needing additional capital raise, at least not as things look right now. How do I say that? Well, we can see that again, if you go to the weekly delivery numbers, the quarterly delivery numbers, we already have Q2 in the bag, obviously. So Q2 is very close to be done now. I would say, let's say anywhere from 86,000 to 90,000 deliveries. So monthly delivery numbers, obviously in Q3 should consist of the month of July, 21,000, August, 31,000, September, 37,000. Now, if we reach 37, I think right now, I don't know what you guys think. Do you think 37 is possible? Again, if they start to, increase their output per number of working days by end of last 7 working days remained in this month of September, let's say to 1,600, they would reach around 30,000 or so without exports. I don't know what the exports number are, but let's say even a couple of thousand. So that's still, 32,000. NIO could potentially sit on their all-time best delivery numbers very, very soon in this month alone. So I wouldn't be like, dissatisfied with any number around 32, 33,000 for sure. But let's hope that they, put something out of the bag and really, really surprise over the last week. I mean, is it possible that they have insurance registration numbers for the total NIO group in the last week, which would be 39/week 40? I don't know, exceeding like, let's say 9,000. I think it's possible. I wouldn't put it past NIO currently, especially with the updated, delivery targets for ES8 and even the Onvo L60. So I would say it's possible. Let's quickly also look at the lithium carbonate price, which is part of the cathode in the battery cells, and we can see that it's now again stabilizing around 70 or so thousand RMB. Obviously there was a peak over the past couple of months after the summer, but since then it's kind of stabilizing. And again, every time you zoom out over the five-year chart, you can see that it's very, very low numbers. So still very good there. We can also probably argue that in terms of swap infrastructure is quite, I would say, yeah, it's quite realistic numbers. Currently, I wouldn't complain at all about the rate of expansion on the swap infrastructure. 28 over this past month, and it's been around 28, 30 or so per single month. And at that kind of numbers, I'm very happy with NIO, because then we will quickly see the swap per station daily go up quite substantially. And yeah, that's only good for NIO. Now, going also, to this other news about the, let's say, updated trials of the 5th gen swap stations. That's something really, really interesting. I don't know what that technically entails, but we know that the 4th gen swap stations that was launched a couple of years ago in late 2023, they allowed NIO to do roughly 480 swaps on a single station. Apparently, you can see here on the CNF post as well. The 4th gen limit was around 480 swaps per single station per single day. That actually reduced the service time around 22%. Now, I don't know how much this 5th gen will be updated, but probably it's going to be more efficient to some extent. Maybe, not 22%. There's always the diminishing returns. But even like 5 to 10% decrease in, service time, that's obviously win for the customers and also NIO. Now, again, my biggest problem with NIO management was that the potential risk of, capital raise. And I said that I would much rather hold off buying NIO over the past 6 months, wait and see that they actually raise the capital in order to ensure that the company is going to survive. Once they did that, I much rather pay even like $7 or $8 US, even $9 US for the company, if I know that they have much better chance of survivability. Because still at this price, I think that NIO is very cheap. Like, there is absolutely no way that NIO should be valued at 18 billion and Tesla at 1.4 trillion. That's like 75 times different market cap. Tesla, if you look at the combined NIO and let's say Xpeng delivery numbers, right? So let's have a quick look here. We can see that on this chart here, if you look at from the first week of this year, NIO and Xpeng combined are in the white and Tesla is in the red. And for the majority of the year, they have actually outsold Tesla in China. And I wouldn't be surprised that next year, NIO and Xpeng will outsell Tesla in China by a significant, margin, in my opinion. And then, obviously we haven't included all the other competitors like Li Auto. We have Zeekr, also recently purchased Link & Company. They actually move a lot of volume when it comes to cars. Then you have Xiaomi and Huawei and all these other, manufacturers and startups in addition to the legacy manufacturers. So in my opinion, there is absolutely no way, because people talk about full self-driving. You think like NIO is sleeping when it comes to self-driving cars, or Li Auto or Xpeng or even BYD for a matter, right? They are also, coming out with solutions to the market. There is absolutely no scenario in the future in which Tesla will be, owning 90% of the full self-driving market like some of the Tesla bulls are believing. I was a Tesla bull 5-6 years ago, but there is like, it's just insanity to assume that Tesla will own like 90% of the market and 100% of the profit. That's not how reality works. We saw that with the EV market. Once the Chinese competitors went into this space, Tesla is kind of struggling. And actually, if you, let's say, look at the yearly delivery numbers for Tesla, they've been stagnating. If you look at 2020 and look at the dark green, which was Tesla, right? They dominated if you compare their EV numbers compared to the BYD, Xpeng, NIO and Li Auto. They had like 70% of the market. And look at the delivery numbers like for 2024, Tesla had like 25% just based on those 5 companies, right? Let alone the legacy automakers and all the other Chinese startups, right? And also the Western startups. But going into next year, that's going to shrink even more. So even 2026 and so on and so forth. So there is absolutely no way that you can, in my opinion, value Tesla at 1.4 trillion and NIO at 18 or Xpeng at 21. So in my opinion, I'm starting to add to my position in NIO now again. And again, I much rather be on the safer side. The capital has been raised. I see the signals that I want to see from the management. I mean, although they left it really late, and they have definitely, made huge, humongous mistakes, and they should be, take some responsibility for the mistakes that they have done over the past, 5 years. But there is, I don't want to be too negative or positive for any reason. I want to be realistic here. And in my opinion, having the Q2 numbers and, the net loss was around less than 700 million, which was a reduction of 230 million almost compared to Q1, a quarter prior to that. The volumes are ramping up. The vehicle deliveries are supposed to be around 100 and maybe 30. I mean, 130 is going to be a really, really tough ask, because that's going to be like 43,000 or so deliveries every single month over the up and coming, last 3 months, which is Q4 of this year. Is that possible? Yeah, that is. I mean, it's not impossible for sure. Like if you again go to the monthly delivery expectations, they can do 40,000 in, let's say, October and November, and then 45 in December. And that is already 125,000, so they would need 5,000 more. Now, I would still say, maybe since that we are at least looking like being at around 33,000 or so in current best case scenario for September, maybe October would be like, I don't know, 35 to 38. Same for November and December, maybe, 40 plus. That would mean maybe closer to 110 and 115,000 deliveries. But even in that scenario, that's gonna, 115,000 deliveries in a single quarter is amazing for NIO. They would reduce their net loss to, let's say, a couple of 100 million, and with the cash that they would have at hand, let's not forget that I should add now another billion or so on this cash position, which currently does not include the capital raised a couple of weeks ago. Then yeah, things suddenly look bright again, and then I gladly pay for this company at this kind of price. The only reason I wouldn't go in heavy in NIO currently is like the management's track record, and I think still we should be cautious, because they have it in them to start like spend crazy amount of money on unnecessary stuff, and it wouldn't then require more than a couple of years if they like let's say even like they reduce the net loss to Q4 of this year close to profitability, even Q1 of next year 2026. If the management now for some reason fall back to their bad previous habits and start to invest a lot of money in stuff that doesn't return capital to the investors, then maybe in like 2 or 3 years from now we're in the same situation as now, and I don't want to waste another 2 or 3 years based on a hope. So I want to like go in slowly in NIO. Let's see what the management does, and hopefully they can like make up for some of the mistakes over the past 4 years. But there's no denying it that as things look right now, like from the objective point of view, they are looking quite good. And I don't think this market capitalization of like 18 billion is a lot for a company like NIO. Even if Tesla goes down 40%, they would be at like, close to $1 trillion US. I mean, NIO could be, based on the delivery numbers, I mean, what they're targeting like 350,000 deliveries this year currently, as we look at the 2025's delivery numbers, 28,000, maybe 330,000. Tesla is supposed to do like 1.6 to 1.8 million deliveries this year. Like, come on, it's like less than 5 times at the top, and next year is gonna probably be less than 4 times. I mean, I definitely see NIO do like 450,000 deliveries next year. Tesla is not gonna do 2 million deliveries next year. So probably next year it's going to be close to a 4 times difference between NIO and Tesla globally. And in China, probably, less than 2 times advantage to Tesla. So yeah, I'm actually quite happy with the NIO standings right now. And please like and comment in the comment section. What's your point of view on the future of NIO, especially in the closest 18 months? Is the stock valued correctly now? Would you see it going like substantially higher, maybe even like breaking that 14-15 level from like a couple of years ago, in which they like diluted the stock at that kind of level, and ever since it's been like going to the even like $3 US. So yeah, I think some things below the surface are looking interesting. So in any ways, thanks for your time. I appreciate your time, and see you in the next one.